Mamy to.
I'm Chris Wilson from Grinding Games.
Jest Chris
Welcome to
Wilson.
DG Live. Today we're going to show you an exclusive reveal of
Krzysztof
Path of Exile
Wilczyński.
Settlers of Kalgur, which launches next week on July 26th. Twitch drops are enabled on today's live stream, so make sure you follow the instructions below in order to claim your Corsair back attack.
Musiałem.
In today's stream, we will take you on a deep dive into the new Settlers of Kalgur
Dobra.
Challenge League. We'll cover the league mechanics, its new and revised crafting systems, a new trade market system for currency, some balance improvements, including 2 ascendency
Currency trade market.
endgame improvements, some further additions to the campaign, and some quality of life features.
What?
We'll then talk about our console-native port releases and the features that come alongside them. Finally, we'll show you our new supporter packs, ending with a live Q&A session where Ziggy D will ask Path of Exile's game director, Mark, your questions from Twitch chat. After the live stream, we'll drop the full patch notes. I'll hand over to Mark now to introduce the new league.
We've really innovated with the content in this league, and I'm really excited to see what everyone thinks. So let's just get right into it with the trailer for Path of Exile, Settlers of Kalgur.
I lecimy bez trzymanki.
Rayclast is a cursed land. You'd have to be mad to settle here. And yet, welcome to King's March.
Dzięki, loser.
It's not much yet, but with your help, we can erect the greatest city Rayclast has ever seen.
Okej.
We'll need resources and savvy planning.
Czyli to będzie to ten Kolonis.
Settlers, craftsmen,
What?
boon seekers, and of course, pirates.
O! Nowe bossy jednak.
Prevail. Our ships will be heavy with gold. We hope to achieve the impossible. We hope to build a home.
Ciekawe. Ej, no drzewko Czekaj. Co to jest? Ja pierdolę w końcu! Jest! Rework Gladiatora! Login! O kurwa, to może być najlepsza liga. O ja
In Path of Exile, Settlers of
pierdolę.
Kalgur, you will encounter some familiar faces from the Expedition League.
Dedajka chyba, znaczy ta Raiderka tam była też reworkowana.
Kalguran people who are trying to establish trade between Rayclast and their homeland. They have recruited many curious characters from Rayclast, including some you may recognize.
U nas, nie, 22 chyba. Też.
Like yourself.
Zapowiedź, albo 21. 22.
Johan, the King's Hand and
Okej,
Lionized
dobra.
Watch. He's there recruiting workers, traders, and exiles. Johan, under the command of the King of Kalgur, has been sent here to build a new city called King's March, which intends to become the hub of commerce between Rayclast and Kalgur. Soon, he will bring you to the planned site for King's March, which you'll notice has humble beginnings as just a tavern in a field. But with your help, it won't stay like this for long. It takes a lot to build a town. The Kalgurans will ask you to seek out resources that can be used to begin construction. On your adventures, you might find minerals such as crimson iron, which are veins of iron that have been overrun with corruption, spawning dangerous foes when you approach.
Okej.
Or perhaps orichalcum, which you will have to liberate from the demons worshipping it. Petrified amber attracts mindless, blighted enemies, while bismuth has a strong affinity to the elements and causes the area to become unstable. If you're lucky, you might find vericium, a material as valuable as it is dangerous, and guarded by very powerful foes. Once you defeat these monsters, the deposit will automatically be tagged for mining. But first, we need to get someone to do the hard labor. This is of course a trade expedition and nothing is free. Miners, along with other workers that the Kalgurans have hired,
No
must be paid
co to
cold hard
jest?
gold, which you'll notice is now dropping throughout Reakcja. You will have control about who gets hired into your enterprise. Once you have accumulated some gold, head to the town and talk to the recruiter, Rolf. He's been busy tracking down hardy folk across Reakcja who are looking for work. You'll notice each person has their specialties and a wage cost. It'll be up to you to hire and fire as you please. Over the course of the league, you'll be searching for your perfect employees for each job. Once you have them, you'll have to keep them paid, safe, and alive, which we'll get into later. Here we have a prospect who has a specialty in mining. We'll start with that so we can begin to retrieve some of those resources we were talking about earlier.
Okej.
Let's go find some ore and put our miner to use. Oh, we've found a vein of orichalcum ore. It's guarded by dangerous demons worshipping a strange shrine. The shrine buffs the demons, giving them power.
Czyli beyond
but
po
once
prostu.
you defeat them, you can seize that power for yourself. After that, we can tag the ore, and our mining specialist will get to work. Soon, we encounter a few more deposits, each with a different dangerous encounter. After you have tagged the mineral veins, your miners will get to work collecting resources in real time. They might take a while, but will continue whether you are logged in or not. The work can be sped up by hiring more or better miners, and by upgrading the mining station back in King's March to equip them with advanced pickaxes. Alright, some time has passed and our miners
Mam
have been
nadzieję, że
able
to
to
na
get the
offline nie
resources
działa.
back in
Idziesz
time.
spać,
We've also managed to collect some more gold too.
klikasz,
We can now
budzisz się
upgrade
rano.
the town and build new structures. There's plenty of options. We just need to decide where to start. I think we'll start with the tavern, the beating heart of King's March. It can be upgraded instantly to
What?
improve the recruiter's prospects. And you can find various important NPCs relaxing here. Next, we'll upgrade our mining station. You can upgrade this to improve the efficiency of your miners and allocate our newly hired workers to mining.
Znaczy grafika poprawiona już teraz jest. Nie no, teraz jest trochę poprawiona. Trochę silnik poprawili.
Then we
Znaczy,
have the Disenchanter, where
Znaczy
you
no.
can bring your magic,
Jest trochę
rare,
lepiej.
or unique items to be added to a queue to be disenchanted over time. The items will be broken down into thaumaturgic dust, a new resource used for crafting and shipping. We'll get more into that later.
What?
And of course, a town needs food. You could invest in farming, where you can select crops to grow and harvest. But don't worry, you won't be manually watering anything. Ah, the wonders of delegation.
Co to jest?
All these resources piling up, there will be excess that we can spend. Let's talk about rewards in Settlers of Kalgur. Eventually, you can build a harbour and establish shipping routes between a number of different Kalguran and Karui ports for trade. You'll be able to pile your acquired resources onto these ships and send them to a port of your choosing, where your traders will haggle for the best deals. Each port will return specific rewards based on what you send them. They accept all types of resources, but will have a preferred type
What?
that they'll currently pay more for. And you'll want to get onto this, because eventually you could be bringing in shipments like this.
What? To!
This, or even this. Today, we're going to trade with Kalgur. You'll notice that as we send more resources, this risk meter creeps up. Much like the dangers on the shores of Reakcja, there are dangers out at sea.
O
Monsters,
kur...
pirates,
82%.
environmental hazards.
Okej.
You'll want to try keep your shipment safe. You can do this by hiring workers that specialize in shipping. The more of them you add to the ship, the less risk there will be. Like this gentleman, who's famous for fending off even the most dangerous of pirates. Now let's get that shipment going. And we'll continue exploring Ray Class while we wait for its return.
I za każdym razem
This
taka
is
ta
the
będzie.
first Path of Exile League that experiments with true, real-time mechanics. You can send out shipments, go and have lunch, and come back to your rewards. Many mechanics in the league work this way.
To jest
So you always
zabawne,
have
nie?
some ongoing project or outcome to look forward to. When your shipment has returned, or met its demise, you'll get notified, and at your leisure you can return to the town to collect your rewards. Our shipment returned safely, so let's go see what we got.
Nie, znaczy,
Ooh, they've sent
zaraz
us a
powiem.
unique item alongside our
O!
rewards.
Ty...
Perhaps hoping to secure
Gward
us as a loyal
instead.
customer for the
Czekaj, to
future.
jest nowe?
Aside from shipping, the Kalgurans are big on their technology. They have hired Isla.
Pod Warda się nie gra w ogóle, więc nie wiem, czy to
She
jest
is
nowe.
an engineer who the Kalgurans have employed for a very exciting purpose. You're not the only one who understands how profitable
Wtedy by oznaczało, że
running
Word
maps
będą
can be.
reworkować w
Once at
jakiś
Endgame,
sposób.
Isla can help you build a
Ale nie wiem,
series
czy to
of
jest nowe, czy
Kalguran
nie.
modified map devices. You can then put a queue of maps into them. If you've hired a few skilled Atlas runners, they will put themselves to work running those maps for you one after another. Look, more delegation. Once again, you'll be notified when the rewards are ready to be collected. You can put lots of maps in the queue, so don't feel obliged to go back there all the time.
Ej, te 17 też się da?
Be careful though. The difficulty of the map impacts the risk of your workers perishing.
Killed.
Try to pick your best workers, or perhaps just
Co
ones you
jest,
don't
kurde?
like. Consider the difficulty too. Sometimes it's better to just run it yourself. You'll see there are many benefits to having a
Nie.
whole ass town at
Idziesz
your
na...
fingertips.
Zatrudniasz ludzi, którzy wchodzą na tą mapę, ty idziesz dalej mapować, wracasz i...
You should
Znaczy,
definitely
no,
consider
oni
building
robią,
a
masz
rune
powiadomienie, że
smithing table.
zrobili te mapy
This
i
is
możesz
operated
wtedy
by
wracasz
Danik
i
himself, using
nagrody
powerful
sobie patrzysz z
Kalguran
tego.
blacksmithing arts. He can engrave runic magic onto your weapons using runes. There are many rune types and combinations to choose from, and you can unlock new crafts that can be applied to your weapons
Dziwne.
as
To
enchantments.
jest dziwne.
Our design intention here is to take powerful effects you would usually only find on unique items, like this modifier, which you might recognize from Doomfletcher's Prism.
Fizyka...
Danik can apply it to your two-hand maces.
CO?!
There are over 100 different special crafting outcomes, ranging from ones very easily
CO?!
applied to
Przecież te
very difficult.
implicity będą pojebane!
Rune types can be acquired through trade with Kalgur, or defeating powerful bosses. The Kalguran tech benefits don't end there. We're also bringing back a formerly overpowered crowd favorite, Recombination.
O
Isla
nie!
can master
Rekombinaj...
this. She just needs
To
to
ty mu...
getting resources.
Nie!
The system isn't as strong as it used to be,
Sentinel.
but it still allows you to combine two items together, hoping to get the best modifiers of each onto a single item. Between running
O
a town,
kurwa.
shipping, and exploring, you'll be collecting a lot of extra gold. It is now the primary resource for two huge new quality of life features that we are putting to test. Firstly, you can use gold to respec passive points. This is a feature from Path of Exile 2 that we've decided just makes sense to port back. The higher
What?
level you are, the more expensive it gets.
What?
And the next one is absolutely massive. A currency trade market. The Kalgurans have recruited Faustus, another NPC from the Heist League. He allows you to asynchronously buy and sell currency and most other stackable items with other players without the nuisance of price fixes and people who never respond. All you need to do is select what currency you want, say what you have, and your ideal ratio. It works kinda like a real
Czy
life
tak
stock
jasno?
market.
No bo jeszcze jest jasno.
Faustus will make the trade happen for you, so long as there is
Jeszcze
someone
jest
selling on the
jasno
other
trochę.
end for the same rate or less.
Nie no, w
You'll be
Irlandii
able to go back
jeszcze...
to
No jest
blasting monsters, while
21.
trusty Faustus does the dirty work,
Po 21
notifying
dopiero.
you when your currency is ready for collection. All you need to do is pay him a small amount of gold for his time.
VOD, ta.
Cards on the table, this
przyszłości.
is an experiment to see if this type of asynchronous trading has a place in future Path of Exile releases. We are very excited to see how it goes.
Ej!
Now, given that Faustus is an expert in black market trade and shady deals, he also
Nie wiem
provides
co
another
myśleć na
service,
razie.
offering items for gold. The items will generate with random rarity, and on average the modifiers on them are
Oj,
better than
chyba trochę
normal.
trzeba przegadać
This can be
będzie.
a
Źle
very
myślisz.
nice way to get some targeted items during the campaign. For serious crafters, it can be a great starting point for making those elusive, specific in-game items, which perhaps you could take to the runesmith afterwards.
Nie no, myślę
It's
dobrze,
worth
ale...
noting that you can invite Faustus to your hideout,
Może
where
i
he will
źle
always be
poniekąd.
available for respecking, currency exchange, and black market items. As
Ej,
the town grows, it will attract
mam
more attention.
wahania między jaram się,
Sailors of
a
Calgary
takie...
3 endgame that will close in on your operations. Wanting a piece
Dobra,
of the pie.
pokażcie bossów.
They might
Pokażcie
capture and
bossów.
ransom your workers, even your entire
No
ship.
bardzo dużo.
You'll have to make some tough
Jaram się,
decisions.
ale trochę
Will
mam
you take
takie...
them on or pay them off? One example of a boss is Sasan, the bandit
Po
lord.
co?
You won't stumble across
Nie no, nie
this boss by
mobilką.
accident. Instead,
Ale później
this
pogadamy o
unsavory
tym.
character can come into your town at night,
Bo
take
będzie o
your
czym
Atlas
gadać
runners
na pewno.
hostage, holding them for ransom. What happens next is up to you. Perhaps you'll refuse to negotiate with bandits, leading to a fight to defeat Sasan and rescue your workers. If
Gdzie
you're not up
damage?
for the heroics, you might simply pay the ransom in gold. Or perhaps these workers were especially disappointing, and you'll just leave them for dead in true Ray class fashion. They knew what they were signing up for, right? Of course, the heroics might be worth it for other reasons. These bosses
On jest
can drop
taki silny,
really
czy ten
neat
chłop nie ma
items.
DPS-u? O! O! Ej, Ward! Znowu Ward! Jest rework Warda! Co ty gadasz? Holy fuck! Co? Dobra, nie spodziewałem się.
But there's a lot more to this expansion. Let's talk about balance.
Balans.
Well, we've finally rebalanced the Gladiator. It's been a long time coming. Like before,
Dobra,
there
co
are
mamy?
passive skills that allow you to invest in bleeding and block.
Atak.
We've designed new skills replacing some of the old ones. Like this, War of Attrition, which is very handy for long sustained boss
1%
fights.
więcej damage'u na hicie
Further
elementach
alongside
za
the
rarka,
Gladiator theme,
do
this new
rarka
passive allows
i
you to combine
unika
different weapon types while dual wielding to get a variety
przez
of powerful
sekundę.
bonuses. For example, holding a dagger will
Jeżeli
give you
będzie
more
twoim-
critical strike
okej.
chance, while holding a mace gives you more area of effect. Of course, you could just use Varanastra for all weapon type bonuses.
Co?
And finally, we have a new notable which allows you to invest in the newly added retaliation skills. These are active skills which require you to meet a certain condition in order to use them.
Co?
Once you meet that condition, you can unleash devastation on your foes. Here we have Eviscerate, which requires you to have a shield. Or for those who like to dual wield, Sword Storm, which is great for obliterating bosses. Here we have the Divine Retribution skill. This one has the condition requiring you to block. You can then unleash a devastating spell, causing lightning bolts to strike the ground in an S shape around your target location,
Ej.
doing huge amounts of damage. And of course, in true Path of Exile fashion, there are many avenues to invest in these mechanics further on the passive tree and a new support gem. You are able to increase the leeway duration after meeting the condition, reduce the cooldowns, or just increase their damage. The world's your oyster. The Gladiator wasn't the only ascendancy class we
Pozdro
changed.
startery.
As we develop Path of Exile systems, we often find ourselves reusing mechanics, increasing their depth, and allowing more avenues to invest into them. As such, the Raider Ascendancy class found itself lacking, with many of its passives commonly available elsewhere. We want our Ascendancy classes to always feel like they're pushing the boundaries, allowing you to change your character in ways that are meaningful and ideally unique. As a result, we've straight up removed the Raider, rest in peace, and we've added a new class in its place, the Warden. This class is largely inspired by its predecessor from the Affliction League, with a few changes. The Warden now focuses on elemental attacks, changing the behavior of Shock, enhancing Freeze, and replacing Ignite with Scorch. There's also a skill that allows you to go ballistic with your elemental damage, periodically. The class also grants Bark Skin, which is a skill that can be used to mitigate physical damage from hits.
Whoa.
After taking a number of hits, it increases your evasion, making it a great defensive choice.
Whoa.
Finally, the last thing the Warden can specialize in is tinctures. These are an alternative
Co?
to flasks from the Affliction
Co ty
List. We're
gadasz?
bringing them back with adjusted
O
mechanics.
nie! Nie.
Tinctures can be placed in your belt, replacing flasks. You can inherently
O
only have one tincture active at a
nie.
time, and it requires a melee weapon to use. While
I to mi
activated, they
psuje
grant a powerful
wszystko.
buff. They can drop as magic items, or be modified with currency to grant extra bonuses. Here is a prismatic tincture. This one increases elemental damage by 100% while active. You'll notice it has two extra effects. One is that it applies mana burn every
Dobra,
second.
ocipiałem, dosłownie
Mana burn is a
ocipiałem.
debuff that builds up while tinctures are active that causes you to lose mana, losing more mana for each stack.
A! Wiecie co to
Tinctures
jest?
also have a cooldown. So once
Wiecie,
you have
co to
disabled
jest?
one, no other tincture can be enabled for a time. These changes make tincture use a more active and interesting choice than it was in Affliction. Both mana burn and the cooldown can be modified through modifiers on the tinctures or on the passive skill tree. Players will want to
Mój ulubiony
maximize their
skill,
tincture
który
uptime
zapomniałem jak
for
się
sure.
nazywa teraz. Jak on się
Here we have a
nazywa?
couple other tinctures.
Ej, ocipiałem!
Poisonberry tincture is excellent for poison builds. The Rose Thorn tincture is the choice for those wanting to deal critical strikes.
White Strike, o właśnie.
You might be wondering, with the removal of the Raider, where has the Frenzy Charge investment gone? We've added a Frenzy Charge passive skill to the Deadeye, replacing the Rupture passive skill.
O kurwa,
On
dobra.
top of Ascendancy classes, we have revisited a number of core mechanics. This time taking pains to ensure
Przecież
easy
ludzie
access
będą-
through the passive tree,
Ludzie to
skill
będą na pewno
ends,
brać
and simple
zamiast
items. We don't want all the powerful
Zamiast-
mechanics to be hidden behind layers of complexity. Let's just rapid fire through the key points. If you want
Kurwa.
more detail later, you can read the patch notes, which will be dropped after the
Zamiast...
live stream. Be sure to let us know what you think. There's a lot of changes,
Gathering
so be
Queens.
prepared for a
Zamiast
bit of a
Gale
shock to the
Force'a.
system. I expect it will take several days for the dust to settle on this one. Firstly,
O,
we've made some
totemy.
drastic alterations to melee skills. Let me just rip this band-aid off. Melee totem skill gems have been removed. We're trying to adopt a philosophy with melee going forward that, unlike other builds, it will be far less oriented around set and forget gameplay. You will deal the damage yourself, and you should be rewarded for doing so. To compensate, we have buffed the damage on almost every single melee skill. As the majority of this damage growth comes from gem levels, we have also made them cost more mana as they level, but it's nothing like the mana costs on spells. Here are some examples of the damage and costs before and after. Heavy Strike has gone from dealing 313% attack damage at 20 to a massive
552.
552% attack damage. It's also worth noting it no longer knocks enemies back. And Sweep has gone from dealing 281% attack damage to now dealing
664.
664% attack damage
Tylko
at gem
pytanie,
level
czy to
20.
poprawia, ale nie ma...
These are just
No dobra,
two
ale nie ma
But the
flatów.
majority of melee skills
Kurde.
are now dealing approximately 75% more damage at level 20. Of course, with melee
Co
comes
ze,
close proximity
co ze
combat,
slamami?
so you need some good defensive options. New base types with higher defensive values will now drop throughout the endgame. As you reach yellow, red, and purple maps, you can expect to find higher tier base types in each.
Uuu.
For example, Val Regalia and Hubris Circlet are no longer the best in slot items for Energy Shield. There are new base types that surpass them.
Twilight
Combined
Regalia.
with some quality changes, which we'll talk about soon, you can
O
now get better
kurwa.
items than ever before in
Lich
these slots.
Circlet. Ej,
To
to jest
compensate, we have
zajebiste.
reduced the amount of flat evasion
1000
and armor from the Grace and Determination auras.
Ej, te liczby są
Overall, you're
fajne.
getting more defenses than before.
Tylko, że za tym idzie też nerf aur.
On top of this, we have buff life modifiers on magic and rare equipment.
Wow.
You can now get as high as 189 additional maximum life from a single modifier on body armors. and more on other slots too. Kaum's heart has also finally been restored to its former glory. And once again grants plus 1000 to maximum life.
1000 mak...
I mentioned quality. Quality on weapons and armors is being changed to apply multiplicatively. In other words, weapons with full quality will give 20% more physical damage, and armor with full quality will have 20% more local defenses. For melee, this will mean a damage increase for almost all builds using physical damage attacks, and it will mean more evasion, armor, energy shield, and ward for all builds. Endurance charges no longer grant elemental resistances, but instead grant additional elemental damage reduction, making it multiplicative with resistances. You can now get 4% per charge, alongside the existing 4% physical damage reduction.
O!
To compensate, we have made some changes to the Juggernaut, and various unique items like Eternal Damnation. You can get more maximum resistances from the tree, specifically around the Marauder class start. These of course
Ej,
stats
co
with the
jest?
mitigation from endurance charges.
Ej, co jest?
On top of this, Jills can now roll maximum elemental resistances as modifiers.
Nie!
Since we're
Za
making elemental
dużo!
more accessible,
Ej, za
we've
dużo,
heavily
widzowie!
reduced the ability to physical damage taken as chaos or elemental damage. Those stats are still around, but you should not
Za
expect to be getting
dużo!
full conversion anymore.
Tego tu jest.
All block passives have been buffed, so you can now more easily
Bloku
achieve block cap
więcej.
from just the passive tree. The Keystone Versatile Combatant has been improved to have less of a penalty to maximum block.
Ja teraz sprawdzę,
A
znaczy...
number of life leech passives have been buffed to generally allow for more acquisition of
O
maximum leech rate
nie,
for
tu się
life.
tyle dzieje.
Vow Pact has been reinstated to its former glory for instant life leech.
Yo!
but only for melee.
Yo!
Flesh and Stone.
Chociaż i to się taki
Previously,
głównie
this buff
używało na
skill granted
mele.
lame and blind, depending on the stance of our character. Now, while in
Flesh
standard
and
stance,
Stone.
the skill simply provides damage mitigation, becoming more effective the closer you are to enemies.
Less damage.
While in blood stance, enemies will take more physical damage the closer you are to them.
Dobra, to
This
jest
skill will now
mocne.
greatly favor
Flesh and
melee
Stone jest
or
mocny.
close range gameplay.
Będzie używany teraz.
Given we're doing
More?
a Kalgurin League, Ward has also received a bit of attention. There are new uniques that grant Ward, and the base restoration of Ward is now faster. To compensate, Olroth's Resolve has been nerfed, but Ward loop builds will still be possible. Anyway, that was most of the purely defensive changes. Now let's look at some of the offensive and utility-based ones. There are more and better ways to deal with mana as an attacker on the southern hemisphere of the passive tree. Wands,
Ej,
daggers,
to jest
scepters,
plus.
claws, and staves now have higher
Duży
critical strike
plus.
chance values than ever.
I
Wands
trzeba
can
aż na
go as
górę
high as
iść
10%
przy
without modifiers.
raid
Sandstorm
przy tej
Visage has been
przy
made rarer
rangerce.
to compensate instead of
39.
reducing its power. For you wand attackers, wands now have higher attack speed than ever to compensate for their low damage. Wand exclusive skills such as Power Siphon, Kinetic Bolt, and Kinetic Blast now have faster attack times. Impale passives have been revised and in general buffed.
Ej, ja już nie wiem czym grać.
Buffs granted by Warcries are now simpler but more significant and more universal to builds. They also now apply to allies by default. Banners have been reworked. Instead of having a reservation cost, they are now free. However, they don't grant a permanent buff. Banners now need to be placed for the effect to be active. However, once placed, they are far more
Whoa.
powerful than before. Additionally, there are new ways to prolong the effects and more ways to invest in them than ever before.
Może
Rage
namieszać
has been made
nieco?
more fundamental and discoverable.
Boję się.
Rage is now multiplicative attack damage, but no longer inherently grants attack speed or movement speed. It has a new cap, and you can find many new passive clusters that allow you to invest into the mechanic.
Ja pierdolę,
To
rage.
make Rage more
Rage
powerful
on
as a
hit na
baseline
drzewku.
and less gated behind the use of specific unique items and ascendancy classes. Berserk has been nerfed, just so you're aware.
A jak
We have
ciekaw
changed
jestem,
how bleed
czekajcie.
works too. You can now find aggravated bleed on the passive tree. When applied, all bleeds on the enemy will deal damage as if the enemy is moving for the remainder of their duration. The skill Ensnaring Arrow no longer interacts with bleed, so no more will you have to apply bleeds and swap to a bow. You can now achieve the same result using aggravated bleed passives without the annoyance. Rupture from the Deadeye has been turned into a support gem.
Co?
We've added the new Overexertion support gem, which highly favors slam builds. Now, it's time to look at a hot
Dobra.
topic. Magic Find.
Chuj wam w dupę! Gdzie wasze quantity? Gdzie wasze quantity, MF-y?
Magic Find is intended to be another
Kegwu.
you can scale once you have achieved the power you want. With item quantity being only available on unique items, this meant if you want
Ale
to get the most
beka, nie ma quanta na itemach.
we still want people to be able to invest into Magic Find, but now only through item rarity. This can be obtained on a number of rare item slots and by a much larger number of builds. What about Ventor's Gamble, you might ask? Here it is now.
O!
This is one of the
Mana
biggest balance patches we've ever done.
Nie
I
mogę.
promise that existing builds will all be safe. Even we aren't able to predict all the outcomes here, nor have we even gone
Nie
into every
mogę.
single change.
Po prostu
just
nie
the major
mogę.
ones. I don't know, man. Balance is hard. But
Negatywna,
the sheer
no.
number of new, viable options is exciting, especially for melee. And we're determined to drag the game in a better direction. Be sure to read the patch notes after this. It's going to be a ruckus. In 3.24, we overhauled the in-game
Endgame.
experience by introducing a new tier of maps and reworking scarabs. We want to continue to improve these systems and introduce more exciting in-game content every league. 3.25 is no exception. Let's check out the myriad of changes coming in Settlers of Kalgur.
Okej.
First up, we are changing many scarabs. We won't go into too much detail here to avoid getting lost in the weeds, but here's a few new ones. Be sure to check out the patch notes after this for more detail.
No, będę musiał zobaczyć, bo nie
We've
pamiętam
also
co
added
było.
an additional map device slot, which will be unlocked upon completing your
No tak,
first
no
10-way
6.
Maven encounter. This simply allows for more combinations of scarabs and maps, resulting in more difficulty and more rewards. This is on top of the existing additional slot that can be unlocked by completing your first tier 17 map. There are
Ej,
now
to jest
6
liga...
map device
Wszyscy
slots in
gladiatorem
total.
będą grać i tym. I tym
You might have seen our
Warderem,
teaser,
czy jak mu
where we
tam...
revealed we'll be adding new special encounters to the endgame. One such encounter is the Nameless Seer, lurking in tier 16 and 17 maps. This NPC will give you a selection of unique items, and you can pick one for free. In tier 16 maps, he now has an additional feature, where you can scry a map. This allows you to swap the divination card drops of the current map with another map on your atlas. Just one caveat. You cannot have the same map be in multiple swaps at the same time. If you want to undo your choice, you can use a scouring orb on either map on your atlas. We've also made some updates to a couple of leagues. Blight has been updated with some atlas passive skill changes, and double anointed amulets can now drop in Blight Ravaged maps. We've also introduced a new type of oil that can only drop from Blighted and Blight Ravaged maps.
Baras!
Ritual has also been updated. You can now find one new and many reworked base types, new unique items, corpses you can use to raise as specters,
O, korpsy
and
wracają.
occasionally a fragment, granting access to the King in the Mist's boss fight from the Affliction League. Here are
Co?
a number of unique
Nie!
items familiar from the league.
Nie. Dlaczego tyle się dzieje na tej lidze?
It is now that which was taken away. However, he now drops a different modular jewel that you might recognize from the Necropolis League.
A, czyli to będzie z Nekropolisa,
In Tier
dobra.
16 and Tier 17 maps, you can now encounter the Wildwood, also from the Affliction League. In case you missed it, the Wildwood is a mysterious forest fraught with danger. In the darkness, you will find magical wisps yearning for freedom.
Okej.
On releasing them, they will empower the monsters in your map,
Okay.
promising more danger but more rewards. You may also find random sentinels on the ground near the start of your maps from the Sentinel League. They work in a similar way to before. They aren't items, but you can click on them and then they can be activated in that area at any time of your choosing. Upon activation, they will buff monsters around you, increasing their difficulty and rewards. And here's one for those who like to live dangerously. You may occasionally find a reflective mist from the Kalandra League. It has two outcomes. It could drop a jewelry item with randomly enhanced or inverted modifier values, or it can give a reflecting mist item, which can be used on an existing piece of jewelry to perform the same action at a time of your choosing.
O.
There's many other small changes to League content. We're removing the first 15 most boring waves of the simulacrum and rebalancing its rewards to improve the chances of finding unique jewels. We're also adding some of the beasts from Einhar's Memory of Harvest Beasts to the core pool. This includes the Black Morrigan. In other news, we've added a set of new chisel types, which can be applied to your maps to get different bonuses. While the cartographer's chisel still increases
Ej,
item
uspokójcie się
quantity, there are new ones
już!
that now increase rarity,
Uspokójcie się!
increased chance for currency items, divination cards, and scarabs. It's also worth mentioning that chisels now apply 20% quality per chisel to white maps, 10% to yellow maps, and 5% to red maps and higher. Unique maps still require the full 20 chisels. Also, only one type of chisel can be applied to a map at a time. During 3.24, we made a change to Tier 17 maps that allowed them to be rerolled with Chaos Orbs. We are now expanding the currency types that can be used on them to also include currencies like chisels and Val Orbs. Ultimately, the only restriction Tier 17 maps now have is that explicit modifiers cannot be removed from them. We have also revised the difficulty of these maps, as they didn't quite hit the mark. The monsters in them now have substantially less life, and deal less damage, meaning Tier 17 maps now better fit into the progression between Pinnacle and Uber Pinnacle content.
Ja pierdzielę!
Lastly,
Wow!
we've adjusted the drop rate of Valdo's puzzle boxes. Previously,
Zreworkowali to w
we were
ten
adjusting its drop
sposób.
rate based on the possible outcomes selected by supporters.
Mniej życia i mniej
So many
dobić.
supporters really wanted Mage Bloods, so the box was hardly dropping. Thus, we have drastically increased the drop rate of the box, but reduced the probability of getting chase unique items from it, like Mage Blood. Overall, we have taken care not to reduce the number of Mage Bloods total in the economy. We figured it was better to have more tickets for fun rather than barely seeing any boxes in a league. We've been hard at work improving the Path of Exile experience on consoles. With native ports for the Xbox Series consoles already being released,
Konsola, kogo
and
to
PS5
obchodzi?
on the near horizon,
Ej, czat, co
we can
uważacie?
now take full advantage of the console hardware. Loading times have been reduced
Bo chyba nie
even
pójdę
further,
dzisiaj
content has
spać
been
za
reduced,
wcześnie.
and textures won't start unloading in heavy scenes. Furthermore,
Jeszcze
overall
patch
visual
noty.
fidelity has been improved for all new generation consoles. Path of Exile now uses the highest available resolution textures and water effects. We've installed a new upscaling algorithm that improves the crispness of dynamic resolution, with an additional anti-aliasing pass on top of that. With these upgrades, we also
Dobra, ma
support
tylko
variable
24
refresh rate
godziny.
TVs and monitors on PlayStation 5 and on all Xbox consoles. In the options, players can now choose which aspect of visual fidelity they want to focus on: resolution, image quality, or target frame rate. In 3.24, we added some new
Kampania.
encounters and
O.
secrets to the campaign. In Settlers of Kalgur, we're adding even more. We're not going to spoil them all here, but keep an eye out for anything unfamiliar on your adventures.
Ale to
Who
nie jest
knows
City
what you'll
Builder z
find?
mobilek.
I
Jakby
mean,
to nie jest...
I know, but still. There's an underground bunker
Ja
underneath
zaraz
the
sobie tyle
refinery,
powiem, o co chodzi
guarded by
tylko.
powerful robots.
Okej.
I wonder what's been hidden away here. How do I unlock this mysterious door? What riches must lay inside? Blighted growths have appeared in the gardens and sewers of San.
Okej.
A vault containing riches can be found in the reliquary. As you might have seen in our teasers, there's a slew of
quality of life
features we've been working on. Here's a quick summary. You'll no longer need to interact with waypoints to unlock them.
To jest
You can
fajne,
just walk
to jest
by
spoko.
and they'll activate automatically.
Po
When
prostu.
using keyboard and mouse, you'll be able to pick up
No
items
to
from further away.
chyba wszystkie widzieliśmy, nie?
We're adding static life bars to some bosses. Not all bosses will have them just yet, but we'll be adding more over time. You can now see which divination cards drop in each map by
To są
hovering
wszystkie
over
te, co
them on your
widzieliśmy.
atlas. When you die, you can now resurrect without having to reactivate all your reservation effects, like auras and heralds.
To jest też fajna zmiana,
Start
szczególnie na
harvesting
HC-ku.
counters with just a single action.
Jak na standardzie się odrodzę, tędy mieć wszystkie aury z
provided by
powrotem.
currency items like whetstones is now based on the item level, rather than item rarity. Those currencies now apply a 20% quality to very low-level items, with that amount reducing as the item level increases. Next up, we're going to be talking about...
Dobra, najważniejsze teraz. Jebać ligę. Dawać.
Today, we're launching two new series of supporter packs.
Bo trzeba będzie chyba
the
pieniądze
Paladin
wydać
and Penance packs.
na tej lidze.
Each tier contains the pack's full face value in points, alongside several exclusive microtransactions.
Niech nie będzie nic fajnego.
These packs are only
Proszę,
available in the
dajcie
Regex
same
of the Settlers
gówno.
of Calgary League, and will leave the store forever when it ends. As always,
Nic
the
w moim
microtransactions
typie.
in these packs are purely cosmetic and do not affect your character's power or progression in any way. The Paladin series of supporter packs contains 6 exclusive microtransactions. Adorn your weapon or shield with the Paladin weapon effect. Make a show of leveling up with the Harpy flyover level up effect. Equipping the Divine Paladin armor set will periodically cause slain enemies to be consecrated and laid to rest.
Dobra.
This set also comes with a matching back attachment.
Ja już mam
The
dość.
helmet and back
Za
attachment
dużo
have
fajnych
options
rzeczy.
to display
Jakby-
the radiant glow or not. You pick. The Divine Judgment finisher effect locks onto unique enemies before
Za dużo
obliterating them with a
dopaminy
laser
jak
from
na
the
jeden
heavens.
stream.
May your critical hits resonate across Rayclast with the Cleric's Bell back attachment. Invite your friends
Co
to
to
spend the
jest?
day at the races.
Ej,
Bestiary race
nie.
course hideout. Add rowers to the track
I to będzie,
against each
to
other.
będzie ten najdroższy na bank. To jest ten za 500 dolków.
Or you can just spectate from the sidelines.
To jest za 500 dolków na bank.
The Penance Pack series also has 6 exclusive microtransactions. With the Penance back attachment equipped, a repentant soul is chained to your back and lashed with lightning. Ouch. Place none other than the Trial Master in your hideout and have him comment on your chaos
Ej, to jest spoko.
and Val crafting attempts.
Ej, to jest spoko. Bo będzie
He
można
even keeps a record
zobaczyć.
of how many Chaos and Val orbs you've used in your hideout during the league or across all leagues.
To jest zajebiste.
Blood stains your armor the more life you lose when wearing the Acolyte's Penance armor set. The Zealot's Madness portal effect fragments as you near it. The Cauldron map device boils maps, fragments, and scarabs placed into it, keeping a tally of how many have been thrown into the pot in the current league
Ej, no to jest
or
przecież-
across all leagues.
Dla streamerów te skiny są dojebane.
Exiled Squire
Jak grasz
gets to follow
MF-em,
your footsteps, hyping you up for battles,
jakby później se statystyki tylko spisujesz
providing
z tego i
pessimistic
masz.
commentary, or voicing their disdain for you
Ej,
to bring
będę
you
mieć
down a
kolegę w końcu. Miałbym kolegę w końcu w grze, ale fajnie.
These packs are now available for purchase on both PC and console, and will remain so during Path of Exile, Settlers of Calgary.
Pojebane.
Meanwhile, the Solar and Eldritch packs leave the store forever at the launch of Settlers of Kalgur League. So now's your
Czy ja
last
chcę
chance to
kupić
purchase.
żółwia? Czy ja chcę
Thank you
kupić
so much for your
żółwia?
ongoing
Nie
support.
chcę. Nie chcę, wszyscy mają żółwia.
Now we have one more thing to announce before getting into the Q&A. We are soon going to be running a small closed beta test for Path
kiedy?
of Exile 2. We have been taking signups for the Path of Exile 2 beta tests over at pathofexile2.com. We will only be selecting a very limited number